Have you ever wondered what happens to your iPad that you traded in at iStore? Once checked and fixed, your iPad goes on an exciting journey. It travels from the iStore across cities, markets, and over farms. It passes smiling people and busy people. It flies as the world goes by. Until finally it arrives. Carefully, it is carried to its new home. A home where it teaches children like me so many new things. Where it opens my eyes to a whole new world. Look, there's me.
My iPad helped me to do music.
The iSchool Africa incede ukuthi ngifeze amaphupho wami.
The iSchool Africa program helped me a lot. It was something new to me and it was interesting and fun.
I never want to miss an iPad lesson.
My iPad is the best way for me to learn. The end.
Since 2009, iSchool Africa has been changing the face of education in rural and township schools by introducing the use of the world's best technology and classroom practices. Together with our partners, we have brought the iSchool Africa iPad Learning Program to over 200 schools. 10 years of ensuring our teachers and learners have access to the digital skills required to succeed in today's world. iSchool Africa brings to each of our schools a mobile lab of iPads, curriculum-aligned applications, teacher training and mentorship. Results and impact are closely monitored and evaluated. Together, we have witnessed 10 years of creating a passion for teaching and an enthusiasm for learning. In this time, we have increased numeracy skills by 15% across iSchool Africa schools. Over 100,000 learners' lives have been impacted and over 3,000 teachers have been trained. Here's to our partners, school leaders, communities, teachers and learners who have joined us on this journey of transforming education. Here's to 10 years of iSchool Africa and to many more of impacting the lives of South Africans.
Have you ever wondered what happens to your iPad that you traded in at iStore? Once checked and fixed, your iPad goes on an exciting journey. It travels from the iStore across cities, markets, and over farms. It passes smiling people and busy people. It flies as the world goes by. Until finally it arrives. Carefully, it is carried to its new home. A home where it teaches children like me so many new things. Where it opens my eyes to a whole new world. Look, there's me.
My iPad helped me to do music.
The iSchool Africa incede ukuthi ngifeze amaphupho wami.
The iSchool Africa program helped me a lot. It was something new to me and it was interesting and fun.
I never want to miss an iPad lesson.
My iPad is the best way for me to learn. The end.
Since 2009, iSchool Africa has been changing the face of education in rural and township schools by introducing the use of the world's best technology and classroom practices. Together with our partners, we have brought the iSchool Africa iPad Learning Program to over 200 schools. 10 years of ensuring our teachers and learners have access to the digital skills required to succeed in today's world. iSchool Africa brings to each of our schools a mobile lab of iPads, curriculum-aligned applications, teacher training and mentorship. Results and impact are closely monitored and evaluated. Together, we have witnessed 10 years of creating a passion for teaching and an enthusiasm for learning. In this time, we have increased numeracy skills by 15% across iSchool Africa schools. Over 100,000 learners' lives have been impacted and over 3,000 teachers have been trained. Here's to our partners, school leaders, communities, teachers and learners who have joined us on this journey of transforming education. Here's to 10 years of iSchool Africa and to many more of impacting the lives of South Africans.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the My Future Green Day career event. My name is Z. I'm from iSchool Africa, and I will be your MC this morning. This event is supported by iSchool Africa, Nedbank, and Tomorrow's Leaders in Training. We are excited that you could join us today for this incredible event. We have the most exciting lineup for you. On today's agenda, we will be focusing on these different elements today, namely green energy resources and waste management, sustainable water management, sustainable land management, and agriculture. So let's look at the lineup for today and how today is going to actually be run. So we have our guest speakers, which is Dr. Walter Fourie and Phumudzo Motanyi. We would like to thank our guest speakers for giving us their 67 minutes for today and showing their support for Mandela Day. And you, our young South Africans, thank you so much for joining us. We'll then move over to the Q&A section. Please note that you can address your questions to both speakers in each session. All you have to do is add it into the chat. Please make sure that you put the speaker's name first and then the question, and we will address them to the speakers at the end of the speakers' sessions. The small group discussions after the Q&A session, we will be breaking away into smaller groups where the Tomorrow Leaders in Training or TLT facilitators have amazing workshops which will be ready for you. Each one of our TLT facilitators are also donating their time to work closely with all of you. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. All right, so we're going to get going, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually explain to you when we get to our breakout sessions, what's going to happen. So just give me a second. Oh, there we go. All right, so what's going to happen is when we go into our small breakout sessions, on your screen for Zoom, you'll see that you have the option that says breakout rooms. So what you're going to do is you're going to tap on breakout rooms. You will then join a breakout room. So what's going to happen is you will then click on one of the breakout rooms and you will join a breakout room. All right, so just remember that you will click on the blue number where it will have, it just depends on that number. You will click on that number and you will join a particular breakout room. All right, so if you have a look there, you'll click on the number in blue, it will ask you to join, and then you will say yes. Okay, you'll choose one of the breakout rooms. Okay, so I'm not going to waste any more time. What I'm going to do is just give you guys the rules just for today. Not many rules, easy rules to follow. Okay, first rule is to have fun. Second rule, ensure you're on mute at all times unless asked to unmute. Okay, so probably when you go into your smaller group sessions, you'll be able to unmute and interact with the facilitators. But when you are in the main room, please, if you can, stay unmuted at all times. What would be nice is if you could have your cameras on if possible, so we could all see who you are and we can see who's joining us for our sessions today. And number 4, okay, your comments and questions, if this could be added into the chat section. So like I said, please guys, if you can, just ensure that you put the speaker's name first and then your comment or your question, so that we know who you are addressing the question or the comment to in terms of your question or comment. Okay, so just make sure that you put the speaker's name first and then your question or your comment, so that we know who it's being addressed to. And number 5, don't be shy to actually ask any questions. Please, that's what our speakers are here for. They want to share with you as much information as possible. All right, so we have a little hackathon going on that we would like you to enter. So I'm going to play a video for you just to have a look and see what this is about. Also, please remember that when you register your team and submit your entry, you're going to need to add your supervisor's teacher's details. So please have them with you or ask them to assist you in submitting your entry. Okay, so I'm going to play the video, guys. Good luck. Have a look.
Are you ready for a lifetime? Do you want to change your community for the better? We challenge you to enter and be one of the top 10 teams to take part in our hackathon. You can make a difference and win. What is a hackathon? Well, it is an event where people come together to solve problems using technology. How to enter, you ask? Let me show you. Firstly, let's look at our hackathon question. What does it mean to leave behind a legacy for a sustainable future using technology in your community? We have amazing, innovative green stories out there that have been making a difference. For example, William Kamkwamba was a 14-year-old Malawian inventor who built an electricity producing windmill from spare parts. What about the drones that have been used to deliver medical supplies to rural areas? Or one of our speakers from Megalo, who is turning recyclable material into amazing eco-fashion. Where there's a need, there's a way, and you as young South Africans can be the next inventors of something great. All you have to do is form a team of 4 or 5 friends. Create and submit a 1.5 to 2 minute video or a Word document essay of 250 to 300 words explaining how your team will leave behind a legacy for a sustainable future using technology in your community. You need to include the following in your submissions. Step 1, define. Define the problem or need in your community, focusing on either green energy resources, sustainable water management, waste management, or sustainable land management. Step 2, identify. Identify which of the UNESCO sustainable goals or goal your team will be addressing in order to find this solution. And lastly, explain. Explain your solution and how will you incorporate technology into it. How will it meet the needs of your community? Remember, only the 10 best solutions will make it to the hackathon. For more information on how to enter and submit, go to www.ischoolafrica.com/green careers. Good luck!
All right, awesome. So good luck. Form your teams. Guys, you have to enter. This is really something that could change not just your community, but South Africa, or even the world. So think big, be creative, and yeah. We will be sharing this video again at the end and the link to where you can find all the information for this hackathon. and all the information about the submissions for it as well. So let's move on to our first speaker. All right, so our first speaker for the hashtag My Future Green Day Career under Energy Resource and Waste Management is Phumudzo Mothanye. So Phumudzo Mothanye is from Mikolo. Mikolo is co-founded by two women, Phumudzo, who is the managing director, and Mbali, who's the marketing director. They are carving out a very important niche in the South African green fashion, recycling, upliftment, and entrepreneurial space. They both have a background in human resource management, fashion design, and Phumudzo has some background in electrical engineering as well. Mikolo is a brand name that is inspired by the love and passion they have for eco-fashion and arts. They're introducing a new South African street style, artistic and eco-friendly fashion brand for young people from the ages of 17 to 35 years, the middle and upper working class, who have a huge interest in eco-fashion in Gauteng, Cape Town, and Durban. But let me not tell you too much about Phumudzo. Let her tell you the rest. Thank you, Phumudzo, for joining us here today and the My Future Green Career Day. The stage is all yours. So I'm going to in case you would like to share, but take it away.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Hello. Hi, everyone. We are very excited to be here today. I am Phumudzo Mothanye, and this is my co-founder partner, Mbali Mukhosi, and we are extremely excited to be part of this day. As she has said a lot about us, and I'm so excited that she has mentioned a whole lot about us. But yeah, we will explain exactly what we do and how we came about it and what inspired us to start our business. So yeah, as I said, my name is Phumudzo Mothanye, and I am the managing director of Mikalo Pty Ltd. And Mbali is our marketing director for our business. So basically what we do is we manufacture bags, accessories, home craft and furniture from recyclable material. So basically what Mikalo is, it was really inspired by the love and passion we had for arts and eco-fashion. So we thought, but what could we do for our community? Because we came from a very clean community and we found ourselves in Orange Farm later on, which was a really, really, really filthy community where it was smothered with a whole lot of waste material and especially plastic. So yeah, we thought, what could we do to help Orange Farm? Because recycling was a huge it was a huge thing that a whole lot of people were practicing, but there was just that one thing that they were not recycling, which was plastic. And we thought that is the biggest problem or challenge for the world itself. So yeah, we came up with a solution to help reduce the amount of plastic waste. And we created our own fabric material from plastic. Yes, the journey was really, really, really stressful. We had to learn a lot about different types of recyclables and different types of plastics and how we could recycle them. And we ended up knowing different types of plastics. So we chose 4 different types that were considered as a safer use for food and drink use, but unfortunately it was quite difficult to recycle. So we went on a journey and we embarked on recycling PET plastic, the low density polyethylene plastic and the linear density polyethylene plastic and the high density polyethylene plastic. Basically, it's just plastics that are used to carry our groceries, to package our food, to also package our cool drinks. And we thought, if they are being produced in such a larger volume, how can we reduce them? Because it seems like a lot of people are just buying them and they end up in our dumping sites or our areas or just open fields in Orange Farm. So yeah, we embarked on that journey. It took us 3 years to perfect the craft that we are doing. And after 3 years, we came up with a very beautiful solution, and we made a fabric that looks like leather, and we create beautiful bags out of it. So yeah, so we have been operating for the period of 3 years now, and we have sold over 300 beautiful and artistic bags that a whole lot of young people love. The middle and also the upper class also has bought our products, and we also do business to business, whereby other businesses are buying our products in form of corporate giftings. So yeah, basically we have worked so much. So yeah, we also host cleanup. We also host cleanup campaigns whereby we call in a lot of young people to help us clean all the illegal dumping sites that are in Orange Farm, and we would create as many plastics as possible, and then we'll bring them back here at our production space, and that's when the washing of the plastics, the shredding, and the manufacturing starts. So we didn't have like a background in waste management, but we both had studied fashion and design, and also human resource management and electrical engineering. So through our background in education, that's when we thought maybe we could come up with a solution that could help our environment, because everything that's been produced also plays a big role of affecting our environment, our marine life, and also our animals. So we thought as fashion designers, how about we create like an eco-friendly fashion brand that would raise awareness, that would teach people the importance of buying and also using eco-friendly products. Would you like to say? So honestly, I really, there's a lot we can talk about, and there's a lot we could share, but it would be really nice if maybe we could also get questions from the young ones, what they would like to know, and we can explain a whole lot about our business and what we do and how we came about it, but I think I've explained a whole lot.
Okay.
Thank you, Pumuzo. Really appreciate that. So just a question from my side. I mean, what does legacy mean to you in terms of leaving behind a legacy, you know, in terms of what you guys are actually doing?
Okay. Legacy to me means a whole lot, because honestly, as a young upcoming entrepreneur that comes from a very, I wouldn't say conducive background, but I would say that my father was studied in industrial electronics, and he would fix a whole lot of electrical appliances. But as soon as that, he got sick, and he didn't even teach one of us how to fix or how to go about it. Then it became a really big problem when he got sick. We had to lose the business. we had to lose everything that he had established, the legacy that he has left for us. But because we were not knowledgeable, or we didn't know what exactly he was doing, then we had to lose that legacy. So by us starting this business, we thought it could be like a great thing it could be a great legacy to live for our own kids, and also our nephews and nieces, and also our families as well, because through this, we are going to be able to teach a whole lot of young people, and also young people from our families and generations, so that they can also keep the legacy going. So legacy for me, I would say it's a very important thing to start for yourself and also for the upcoming little ones that come after you. Because if you don't have anything to share or to invent or to teach other people, then it becomes a problem when you leave this world whereby other people don't even know how you started or how it came about and where would you vision it to be. Sure. So this business, definitely, we would love it to grow, not only in Orange Farm or in the West Rand where we are working, but we would like it to be a huge legacy that other African countries could adapt and also adapt and use it for the next upcoming generation, because we need to sustain our environment. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I mean, that was really an amazing response to that. And it's very true, you know, like legacy is not just about, you know, just leaving it behind for, you know, your generation, but for future generations as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hold off on all the other questions that we do have for you. We're going to have our next speaker, and then at the end of our next speaker session, we have the rest of the Q&As for yourself. So please don't go anywhere. Stay with us. All right. So what I'm going to just give me a second. I'm just going to introduce our next speaker. Sorry, all just give me a few seconds. There we go. All right. So our next speaker is Dr. Walter Fourie, and he's the director of OFT Toxicology, a specialist in the field of environmental engineering and its application to industrial complexes. His specialties are environmental engineering, water and waste management, Six Sigma, process improvement, toxicology, research and development of battery materials, high purity manganese. I mean, this is really a mouthful, and I am pretty sure, Dr. Fourie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm pretty sure you will explain exactly what it is in a bit more simple terms, and you know, take us through what it is exactly that you do and how are you impacting our environment. So let me stop sharing.
Thanks, Zee.
And you can take the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to give you a bit of a technical background as to what is going on around in the world, and then how we can fit into it and how you can become part of it. So you see the final product first before you can see how to get. So when we talk about renewable energy, it's all about minimizing our carbon footprint. How we do that, how we measure it, is through grid emissions. So we see how much carbon dioxide we emit per megawatt hour that we produce. So in South Africa, we produce about 1 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent for 1 megawatt hour that we produce, which is very high because we're all sustaining on fossil fuels. People like China, only 0.7, and incredible people like Sweden is at 0.01. So they are 100 times more efficient than us in not emitting carbon dioxide. And that's because they have a lot of hydropower, some nuclear power, and very, very little fossil fuels. So when we measure these carbon dioxide equivalents to make sure that we rely on renewable energy, they are measured in 3 things called scopes. There's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And scope 1 is when you manufacture something, is how much carbon dioxide you put into the atmosphere. Scope 2 is the electricity that you use to manufacture what you make, how much you put up in that. And scope 3 is all of your downstream processes and your upstream processes that you use in manufacturing, how much carbon dioxide you put in there. And so why is this important in the bigger scheme of things? The big driver is, of course, the environment. We know that we don't want to put carbon dioxide into the atmosphere because it's bad for us. There's climate change going on. But the other thing is it also impacts our markets. So if you go to Europe now, you will be issued a green certificate if your manufacturing process is green. If you don't put a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, because you and your suppliers are working on the renewable energy. So you've all heard about Tesla, Elon Musk. I mean, they're all the rage right now, and that is with electrical vehicles. Electrical vehicles is the next big thing that's part of the renewable and the green economy. Tesla is building gigafactories in the US and Australia, and part of that is all the other new guys that are coming. You can go Google them. They're people like Northvolt and Umicore and BASF and even Volkswagen themselves are building all of these gigafactories that will be using electrical vehicles. So electrical vehicles, your vehicle won't be using fossil fuels anymore. So that's good for the green economy, but it will have to be charged with electricity that is from the grid. So your grid also needs to be green. So they look from everything from the top to the bottom. How green are you? And that comes to waste management as well. If your waste that you produce is being landfilled, then you're not that green anymore. And that's why people like Megalo is such an excellent example of how to do this. Because if there's two manufacturers by product, and the one landfills and the other one doesn't landfill, the producer is going to choose the one that does not landfill because it's more greener in the circular economy. So Megalo, I applaud you. That is such an excellent thing to start doing. So in South Africa, we have fossil fuels, unfortunately, at the moment. We are moving towards renewable energies. Legislation is changing that allows us to use more photovoltaic. I mean, we're such a sunny country. We can use PVs a lot. We do more and more wind energy. We do solar energy. So it's coming along slowly, but there. So on the one side, our landfilling is regulated by something called the National Environmental Management Waste Act and national norms and standards, which direct us to not to landfill and to rather beneficiate and to reuse all the waste that we have. So either you have legislation that pushes you into the green economy, or the market itself, as I explained, because you need a green certificate to trade, pushes you into the green economy. And this is all about renewable energies and waste management. So career-wise, and to get into this, it's from the extremely technical, how do you make a green product, to policy making, to legislation. So it's an immensely broad field of career-wise that you can become part of it. From my perspective, I'm an engineer, so I'll give you a little background and how I got into this. So obviously math and science at school, do both as hard, as long, and as high level as you can, because you are going to use it. If you want to become part of it, if you need to understand what a carbon dioxide is, then you need the science. You need to know how to do the calculation, so you need the math. I studied chemical engineering at University of Pretoria. When you choose an engineering line of where you want to go, it's important that you choose a university that is accredited by the Washington Accord. So all the big universities in South Africa are accredited by the Washington Accord. TICS, WITS, UCT, Stellenbosch, all of those are accredited by Washington Accord. So go for one of those. And attend all your classes. Don't bunk. Please, don't bunk. I know as a university student, I myself, it's much more fun to go, party and have a beer somewhere. Don't bunk. every single lecture is important. So that's my one lesson for today. After I studied chemical engineering, I worked for a few years in consulting, and then I moved to Alaska to do my master's and doctorate in environmental engineering. So how I got there is a very, very long story, which I don't have time for today, but I was very fortunate to get there, and they sponsored me because they enjoyed the work that I do. So if you keep your level of work high enough, you will make your own future. If you slack and you just sit on the couch and watch TV, it's not going to happen. You have to work all the time. And then your future will grow by itself. So I was lucky enough to go to Alaska, did my master's and doctorate there. That opened doors for me to work from the North Slope of Alaska all the way down to the southern tip of Tasmania, working with the Australian and Arctic Division. It was just an incredible 5 years of my life. But I did come back to South Africa because I'm South African and I love being here. And I was lucky enough then to work for a company called Manganese Metal Company. So they're a tiny little firm in Nelspruit. We have great weather all year round. It's not like in Joburg where you're freezing. It's maybe 26 today, so it's going to be lovely. You're freezing at 10 degrees Celsius or something. This company produces high purity manganese. They're the sole supplier of this high purity manganese that goes into the world's biggest producer of cathode material, that goes into the world's biggest producer of electrical vehicle batteries. So this tiny little firm actually feeds a massive part of the world revolution into electrical vehicles. And I help them with their product development and also with their environmental management. So it's all very exciting. Apart from that, I run two separate firms called EnviroEng, which is an environmental engineering firm. Stuff I do there is, for the Peace Box Foundation, I looked at chemical alteration of rhino horns so that it can't be smuggled anymore. So that was a few years ago. I also run another firm called OFC Toxicology that Z talked about. There we do more about the toxicological and ecological health. So last year during lockdown, the World Health Organization asked me to fly to Mauritius to look at the oil spill that was there. So the breadth of things that you can do with your engineering degrees can be enormous. You're not going to be just building a road. From my perspective, the career choice of having a bachelor's in chemical engineering and a postgraduate in environmental engineering worked very well. I think it's a good combination. In South Africa, you won't be able to study environmental engineering as a bachelor's degree. You'll have to do it postgraduate, but you don't necessarily have to have an engineering degree bachelor's. So some universities allow you to do a BSc bachelor's, and then you can do a master's in environmental science or in environmental engineering. So I think that's my 2 cents. I painted the big picture of where you can go, but first you have to do math and science at school, then you have to go to university and not bunk, and then the world will be your oyster. Work hard, and now you just ask questions. I've preached enough.
Thanks, Z. Thank you, Dr. Fourie, for sharing that with us. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A with both yourself, Dr. Fourie, and Phumudzo from Mekolo. So we've got a question here for Phumudzo. Where do we get the art that you produce, and how can we get in touch? And that's from
Thank you for the question. You can find us on all social media platforms. That's how we are currently operating, because it's still a small business. Only been selling for a period of 12 months now, but so far so good. And we really appreciate all the support that we've been getting from all young people and all the corporates that are now buying in. So you can follow us on our Facebook page, which is Mike Galore, and on Instagram as well. And you can simply send us a message, and we will respond via WhatsApp. You can still get our WhatsApp directly from Facebook, and we deliver through Pexi. So we deliver in all 9 provinces. So you can simply get contact with us on our social media platforms, and you deposit your money directly into our business account, and then from there we will do our deliveries, and we take from 5 to 9 days to deliver.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I hope, Tato, you've got the information, and the rest of you who would like to purchase from Mikalo. Another question here is, what is the most important skill you think someone needs to make a sustainable difference?
Honestly, I would say any other skill is important, because when we went and studied, we thought different. We thought studying HR would make us the next best HR in somebody's business. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I would say that we were studying it for our own business. So human resource management played a very big role in being able to maintain a business in terms of employer to employee relationship, how you do your letterheads, all the business admin, it helped us. And when it comes to fashion and design, yes, constructing a garment and a bag, you need to get a skill again. So we went and got a fashion and design skill so that we can be able to construct a garment. And engineering again played a very big role, because I studied electrical engineering, and through that I was able to understand different types of chemicals and how they operate. So I would say maths, as Mr. Walter said, maths and science play a big role, and now technology, because things are going digital, technology as well also plays a big role in you to be able to do anything. I think the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit as well.
That's good. Thank you. So I think having skills in every field, because I'm sure that's going to help you. Yes, sorry, Mpho, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, she wants to say something.
Can I say something? Hi, everybody. My name is Mbali Mokhosi. I am the marketing director of Mikalo Pty Ltd. Okay, the skills that I have is human resource management skills, and that is all I have. So currently, for the past years, I've been doing self-teaching, self-taught in terms of photography and photojournalism and journalism in all those type of aspects. So in that said, I use those skills to actually raise awareness in terms of what we do. So through photography, photojournalism, writing, we use those type of skills to express, what we know about the importance of taking care of the environment. So in an artistic manner, that plays a huge role, and digitally, because we are using social media, and that has a very huge impact in actually saying a lot lately. That's what we're doing right now. So obviously being digitally educated in terms of photography and taking pictures, building content, it's crucial. So as a young person, I'm still trying to further myself in that department. And so I'm trying to find institutions such as Market Photo Workshop, so that I can learn more about writing in terms of photojournalism and things like that, because I believe I can educate more young people or any individual who's interested in the understanding the eco-environmental importance, So as a marketing director, that is the strategy that I use to actually educate or raise awareness on social media, through photography, through photojournalism. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to just go for engineering or or other things. Even if you're an artist, you can just channel yourself within the space of an environmental issues, but through using these other aspects: art, photojournalism, journalism, photography, videography, all those type of aspects. So yeah, that's my little 2 cents there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure the kids will appreciate that. Dr. Walter Fourie, there's a question here for you. What other renewable resources can we use other than solar, wind, and hydro?
In South Africa, those are the big ones. I saw there was another question on the plastics recycling or something. And I mean, those are one of themselves. There's legislation in South Africa that prohibits landfilling material with a high calorific value. So if you can burn it and make energy out of it, that is going up into the value chain again. So that can also, it's not essentially a renewable energy, but it's directing it away from landfilling and reusing it into the energy sector so that we can get a benefit from it instead of landfilling it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then there's another one here. So somebody asked, do you have to study according to the subjects that you have chosen in the 10th grade?
I actually don't know how that works in schooling anymore. To get into engineering degree, you have to have math and science. Okay. I don't know what those levels are anymore. Maybe Pumbutso would know. You're a bit younger than I am.
Yeah, but I'm sure you.
If that is still the case, but you
from grade 10.
You do need math and science.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so maths and science, guys, remember that is what you definitely do need if you do want to get into engineering in any way.
Absolutely.
So we have a lot of questions here still, and I'm sure everybody wants them answered. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but there was just one more question. We'll just go to one more question. Please, can you re-explain the 3 scopes?
Sure. So scope 1 is the carbon emissions that you emit when you produce something yourself. So if you have a manufacturing firm and you burn fuel in making something, the carbon dioxide that you emit by burning that fuel, that is scope 1 emissions. That is currently what we're being taxed on. So our tax act, Carbon Tax Act, is for scope 1 emissions until 2023. So all companies in South Africa that's above a certain threshold pay that carbon tax for the moment. Scope 2 is you will be taxed on, or scope 2, the emissions itself is all the electricity that you use. So if you use 1 megawatt of electricity, you produce 1 ton of carbon dioxide, more or less. And in South Africa, you'll be taxed on that for 120 Rand per ton of carbon dioxide equivalent. Scope 3 is all the upstream and downstream, up and below your process. So if you used, for example, sulfuric acid in your process, you go look what was used into making that sulfuric acid before it came to your door, and what is all the carbon dioxide that was generated there, and then to get your product to the port. So if you export it to Rotterdam in the Netherlands, you have to go calculate what is the carbon dioxide of putting it on that freight ship all the way to Rotterdam. So obviously scope 3 emissions are orders of magnitude bigger than scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Go Google it. There's lots of information on it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fourie. So I think, look, unfortunately, we have run out of time. There is so many questions here for both of you in the chat section. I don't know if you guys want to go through it yourselves, but now we do need to, unfortunately, go out into our small breakout rooms. So just a little bit about who Nick is. So Nick Alcock is actually a professional civil engineer with a master's in urban infrastructure design and management. And he's been working in the water and sanitation sector for the past 20 years. He's currently a managing member of Khanyisa Projects, a developmental organization based in the eThekwini municipality in Durban, South Africa, focusing on water, sanitation, biogas, and other sustainable solutions. We really appreciate you giving us your time and your expertise this morning, Nick. So please take the stage. I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to you.
Thanks, Z. I'm going to share my screen as well. It was quite interesting watching the text of how you gave my name as Nick Alcock, but it read it as Nick Alcohol. So hopefully people don't remember me as the person who does a lot of drinking. But anyway, let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, I'm not seeing.
We can see your screen.
Can you see it?
Yes.
For some reason, I can't. Let me just. I'm just strange that I can't see my screen. It's going to help me see my screen. Where has it got to?
Maybe just try and stop sharing again and then try sharing again, reshare.
Stop share. Screen. Okay, there we go. Now I can see it. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Z. I know I've only got sort of 10 minutes or so, so I did just get a few slides together to make it a bit more interesting for you, and you can see some of the work that I do, and hopefully it may inspire you. So I just start off with a boring slide that just says sustainable water management. It's how we use water in a way that meets our current needs. That's ecological, social, and economic needs now, so that we still can have those needs in the future. We can meet those needs in the future. So, those words, ecological, social, and economic needs, maybe you guys have got some picture in your head of what those three are meaning. And I had a few pictures here. So ecological, are you looking after the natural environment, or is it getting polluted, as in this river scene from the Umgeni and eThekwini? And that we don't take too much of that resource so that there's not enough for others or for what people need. So that's more on your ecological. And on social, humans need clean water to drink and wash, otherwise we get sick. It's a really important need for humans, hence it's one of the rights that people have. And people need safe and dignified sanitation. Not everyone has that. And so that's something that we in our organization are working passionately for, is clean water and safe and dignified sanitation. And then the last one, economic, cities and communities. When lots of people live close together, they need safe and reliable water services. That's how cities work. They need services to work. And if you live on a farm, you can go and fetch water from the river, but if you're in a dense city, you need that water brought to you and you need your waste taken away. Otherwise, the situation becomes unhealthy. And businesses need healthy people, otherwise they can't work. So that's how cities work. And so those are needs. But if we use too much of that water, or we waste it, or we pollute it, then we're going to have a problem, and future generations are going to have a problem. So I just wanted to show you a quick video here. I wonder if any of you know what that is that you're seeing there on the left. You can see it's got metal pipes and there's water sort of squirting out of it every few seconds. That is actually a pump, but most pumps use electricity to pump water, or they might use petrol or diesel, some sort of energy that they need. This particular pump is called a RAM pump. It's spelled RAM, and it's using water energy. So that's a stream, and it's taking water from a higher point dropping it down that pipe through some valves, and it's pumping water up to this farm here. So they know it pumps water into that tank using the water energy. Some of the water goes back into the stream, and some of the water is pumped up the pipe and to this tank. So it's a sustainable way of getting your water, you know, using the energy of the stream. There are lots of ways of getting water. We need water for farms. We need, you know, and most of our water comes in from rivers and dams and is then cleaned. And then it, you know, it comes to our door, but some people still have to fetch water. So there's so much work to be done. And some of the careers around water supply are civil engineering, which is what I studied. It could be a technician diploma in civil engineering. You could be getting into plumbing. You could be getting into farming. Those are the sort of careers that would, you know, things that one would need to study to get into the area of water supply. Here I'm looking at sanitation and energy. This picture of this structure on the right here with a dome is actually what's called a biogas digester. And what happens is you could have your sewage going into this digester through a pipe, or you could put food waste in there, any organic waste. And what happens is bacteria live in that waste and they process that waste and give off gas. And that gas can be piped. It gets trapped in this dome and gets piped to a gas stove, and you can then cook your food. So there's a link, can be a link between sanitation and energy, where you're using your own waste from your toilets to provide energy. And this is another field. And some of the careers linked to this kind of work, again, is civil engineering, plumbing, gas technicians, and also social development, because these particular projects could be for people in rural areas, as well as in urban areas. This is now looking at the whole sanitation chain. This diagram at the top shows someone sitting on a toilet. It could be that that's a flush toilet going to a septic tank underground. Every now and again, a truck has to come and pump that septic waste out and take it to a storage place or a process treatment plant, and then it's treated into material that could then be used on agriculture. That would be a sustainable way of reusing that waste, because it's got a lot of nutrients in the waste. So that's showing you the whole process. But often our waste, if we have flush toilets, goes straight to a treatment plant where it's processed, and then the cleaned water then goes back into the river. There's a lot of work in this field. These two pictures below, this is a hand washing station at an informal settlement where all the water is recycled. So you don't have to keep adding water. The water, you wash your hands, the water is cleaned, and then it's recycled and it's used again. So that's a sustainable way of providing a washing area. This here is toilets where they're using solar energy to power the toilets and to power the cleaning system on site at a school. So there, all the cleaning of the sanitation and the sewage is done on site. So some of the careers linked to that are a plant controller, someone who might be working at a site like this, civil engineers, chemical engineers and technicians, plumbing again, electricians. What looks like a dam here is actually part of a treatment plant. So that is where your sewage often goes and it gets treated, and there's a lot of activities that happen at a treatment plant. So as I said, it's those kinds of careers: chemical engineering, civil engineering, plant controllers, technicians, plumbers and electricians all work at sites like that directly. I wanted to show you this aerial photograph where houses have been given numbers, and you might be planning water or sanitation for a particular area. The red roofs here is a school, and the others are houses in that area. So this is part of a planning exercise to say, how are we going to get services such as water and sanitation to these areas? And one of the skills is GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems. If you study geography, you touch on geographic information systems. It's using computer science and IT skills to plan and understand what areas need for their water and sanitation. So there's are skills and things you can study. Also, again, plumbing, construction, and civil engineering. All of these go into water and sanitation planning, lead to construction projects, water and sanitation services to people. How did I choose my career as a civil engineer? Well, you know, I'm sure it's difficult for you. You know, I was fortunate. My father was an architect, and so he knew about different careers. And so my father gave me some guidance. I knew I didn't want to be an architect. I wasn't very good at drawing, but I was good at maths and engineering, and so technical subjects, and so that helped me choose my career as an engineer. And so I studied a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering at university. But in my organization, I work with a lot of different people. You know, I have chemical engineers working with me, civil engineers and technicians, as well as community development practitioners, because a lot of our work, we're working in communities, and an engineer doesn't have all the solutions. Often the community have the solutions as well, and development practitioners. So if you studied a degree in community development, it might help you in the water and sanitation field. Also, we have GIS people, so people who study computer science and geography to plan and plan services. And yeah, I hope I've shown, you know, I'm passionate about what we do. We've got a lot of young people in our organization that we're training, young chemical engineers, civil engineers, and other technicians. We're passionate about what we do. We really want to find particularly sanitation and water solutions, because so many people, you know, a lot of the disease that's out there is actually caused by poor sanitation and poor water supply. If people have dirty water or they're not able to use safe toilets, that is how disease often comes. So we're passionate about getting toilets to people, toilets that can work, and different solutions for different areas. So we collaborate with people from all over the world on these toilet and water projects, scientists, engineers, as well as communities, universities here in South Africa. We work a lot with the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So we have to collaborate. We don't have all the skills. So that's how we are successful in our work and with our staff, is that we work with other people who are good at what they do. So I'm going to stop there, I think, and hopefully that's inspired some of you to get into the water and sanitation sector. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing that with us. I think there was a lot that I took from there. I think one of my biggest things was quite amazing to see that, you know, the sanitation and energy process of how you can actually just use your own waste to create gas. I mean, that is something that is really mind-blowing, you know. You don't even have to, you know, do a lot for that. And so, yeah, I think it was great what you've shared with us. I think for those kids out there that are listening, remember to pop your questions in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have our next speaker. And then once we're done with our next speaker, will we then have the Q&A section. So Nick, please don't go anywhere. Just stay right there. So I'm just going to introduce our next speaker. His name is Brad Graves, again, speaking to us with regards to sustainable water management. And Brad is basically a senior wetland ecologist and entrepreneur who holds a BSc honors degree in geography. He was a member of the Ground Truth Wetlands Division and is the business owner of FF Wetland Science, building a solid foundation for future generations. Welcome, Brad, to this great event. We're thankful that you could actually join us and give us your time. Please, we'd like you to share more about what it is that you actually do. So I'm going to just stop sharing here so that you can take the stage.
Thank you, Z, and thank you everyone for having me. It feels like a privilege to be here and to share with you guys and hopefully shape your future. So yeah, building on what Nick was saying, what is sustainable water management? As has been alluded to already, I'm a wetland ecologist, so I have a slightly different view of things, looking at it from the ecological processes that are happening within the landscape. So for us, conservation of our freshwater resources, which include your wetlands and your rivers, is basically what we're about. And the reason for that, as Nick said, is water is the source of life, and it's also the source of a healthy planet. And if you just think about your body, for example, the average person holds between 60 and 75% of their body is made out of water. So if you know, we made up of water and we need to drink water to survive, then suddenly this whole issue of keeping and managing our water resources effectively becomes personal, because it's actually so important for certainly for future generations. And if we continue to allow pollution happening, if we continue to allow bad sanitation, as Nick was saying, and a few other things, it's not going to end well, basically. I've heard some commentators and futurists talking about world wars happening over fresh water in the future. So it's really something that we need to be aware of, even if we're not necessarily working in this field. So as a freshwater ecologist, my job is basically to determine the size or extent of a wetland and river, and also look at what are the characteristics of that particular system, and from that also looking at how impacted that system is. So you know what type of wetland, what type of river is it? Does it have big erosion features in it? Is it polluted? What is the vegetation composition made up of? All of these different things that we have to look at. And the reason we do that is because in our national legislation, we're required to protect our water resources by law. There is a principle in play called no net loss. So any development or new undertaking that's done has to be done in such a way that there's no net loss of functional wetlands and rivers in the landscape. And the reason for it, as I've already said, is because they're so important for our futures. Everything revolves around water, effectively. Even our economy revolves around it. So that's why I admire projects like what Nick was talking about, getting on the ground and sorting out sanitation, is because any wetland and river is basically made up of the cumulative impact of its entire catchment. Now, what is a catchment? If you think of a basin, and if you put your tap on over the basin, what happens in the basin? The water starts gathering inside it. And if there's a little outflow point, the water goes through the basin and ends out the other side. And ultimately for wetlands and rivers, that's the ocean. Okay. So basic careers, opportunities in our field. Nick's already talked about the engineering side of things. As I said, I'm an ecologist. So I'm an assessor of health and functioning of wetlands and rivers. You can also be a hydrologist, which that person is looking at the processes involved of how that water flows through your catchment and ultimately into a river and then ultimately into the ocean. And that's the surface water that those guys are looking at, and how it moves and where it moves. A geohydrologist is another career you could look at, and that's looking more at the groundwater. So that's the water below the surface below the surface, basically. There's an environmental engineers. I know you guys heard from one earlier this morning. I also listened into the talk. It was very interesting. And basically those guys are also, in addition to developing infrastructure, those guys are also able to assist with the process of rehabilitating or fixing your wetlands and rivers as needed. A lot of the impacts around wetlands and rivers are normally relating to man-made impacts. So if you have a whole lot of concrete in an area and there's a rainfall event on it, that water flows a lot quicker into your surrounding landscape than it would be if it was just landing on grass, if that makes sense. So basically the impact of that water running fast is that it causes more erosion, and then that undermines all the ecological processes of that ecosystem. And those are just some of the little things that we kind of cover. Now, something I want to encourage you guys to do is you don't need to wait until you start doing something. Just if I can encourage you to start now. If you can see a problem out there, go and look at it and start brainstorming, because all good ideas are basically a lot of bad ideas that have been refined through discussion and brain, think tanks and things like that. So I don't know, there's so many, a huge range of things that you could apply that to, but with us, like you guys as young people, there's a website that you can go to called minisass.org. That's spelled MINISASS.org. And what that is basically, that's a tool that's been developed for anybody to be able to go to their local wetland and river and check what condition wetland or river is in. And you do it by having a look at all the little animals and nunus in the water. And what you then do is then you submit your results onto the website, and you're able to see, hey, there are all these rivers around the country, and this is the condition of them. And then you look at the bigger picture, what's happening in the catchment of those wetlands and rivers, and maybe that's the reason why that wetland's impacted. So maybe there's a sewage leak somewhere, and that's causing bad water quality further down the catchment. It's just little things like that you can start doing now, and don't wait. There's never perfect weather. Life is always about falling flat on your face, and the only problem is if you decide not to get back up again, and you've got to learn as you go, and that's just the way it is. Even as young people, you don't have to be some rocket scientist before you can get started. That's all I'm really trying to say to you. So for myself, I did get educated, as has been alluded to. Maths and science through school is a fundamental basis of any engineering, any science-based degree. So I've got an honors degree in environmental science, and basically, but these days master's degrees will get you further in the job marketplace. If you're looking for a job, I'd recommend looking beyond just a job. Also look at maybe causes that you can assist with, and or businesses that you can develop on that, based on that product or that problem that you're solving. And then, so a little bit of my history. How did I choose my career? So for me, I spent a gap year, first year out of school, a working gap year at an outdoor adventure center, which was based in a game reserve. I spent the whole year living in nature, basically, and dealing with people. And that's how I realized that those are the two things that I really want to, shape my life around. And I ended up doing my degree thereafter, as I said, and then I got straight into the consulting industry, and have been working in that industry for 16 years since. I've also been developing small businesses on the side as well, just because I don't feel that we should all be married to our business card, if that makes sense. You need to decide what you're passionate about, and then accumulate all the skills you can to reach and achieve that goal. It's like if you think of a picture of a bow and arrow with a quiver and of arrows on your back pocket there. The more different arrows that you have, the more different targets that you're able to hit, and it all leads to the same sort of ultimately achieving your end goal. What is legacy? Legacy is whatever we individually and collectively leave behind, whether it's bad or whether it's good. And for me, that's quite profound, because you could, just by existing, you could easily leave a bad legacy for your future generations, or you know, or you could decide that it's going to be a good one, but you got to decide and you got to act on that. And no pressure, I guess. It's a bit of a challenging thought, but really it's something to consider carefully. And passion and collaboration is fundamentally, it's so important. If you're just working on your own, sitting behind your computer screen all day, every day, it's very difficult to have experiences and learn from people and create ideas and just grow, I feel. So that's why collaboration, when we're doing like rehabilitation projects and things like that, I'm a scientist, I'll have to work with an engineer because the engineer knows how to build things well. So I might say, okay, well, we have this problem here that needs to be solved. The engineer suggests a solution. We discuss the pros and cons of that solution, and then we have an outcome, which is a structure that's designed to help your wetland or river improve its condition. So that's all really from me at this stage. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask, but just know that you know, we all can make a difference in our small little way. Getting back to that mini-SAS tool, if once you know the condition of your river, then take a look at what's happening around your river and see if there's a way that you could help contribute to improving it, whether it be litter collection or help, you know, speaking to a business that you can see is maybe polluting it or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point being is every little bit helps. And I would encourage you guys to take that to heart because yeah, that's the truth. All right.
Much, Brad.
That's me.
Thank you. I think it was very interesting because there was a lot of advice that was given to the kids. I think it wasn't just one advice, you know, I mean, but the big one that I took was from, you know, from all that you've said is start now. And I think that's the thing, is just not to wait until you're done with school and deciding what you want to study and things, but to actually start now. Get out there, you know, get some experience into, you know, the fields that you are looking into, you know, find some problems and find the solutions to those problems. And I think that's the biggest takeaways, is you're never too young to actually start. So I want to thank both our speakers for the incredible work that you guys are doing to make a difference in the water sustainable management field. But I think there's a lot of ideas here now that are going to give you, as young South Africans, you know, to pave the way for your hackathon and for your ideas on how to actually make a difference in your community. So what I'm going to ask you both, Brad and Nick, to do is to answer some questions. So we're going to spotlight both of you. We have a few questions. So I have a question here for Nick. From one of the learners. They asked, what challenges have you faced in your field, and what advice would you give children who want to study civil engineering?
So you said again, what advice?
Okay, sure. So I'll just repeat the question. So what challenges have you faced in your field? That was the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, what advice would you give to children who want to study civil engineering?
Challenges, there are lots of those. I think, I mean, I've worked a lot with municipalities, and yeah, there definitely are a lot of capacity challenges sometimes at municipalities. So getting projects going and getting municipalities to implement sometimes can be challenging. Also, sometimes people want to rush ahead with projects in community areas without doing the proper stakeholder engagement. And so you then, you know, engineers think they've got all the solutions, and then they roll out some project and then wonder why people are blocking that pipeline or that road. So that is a thing that often happens. And we try not to go like that. If we're working on a project, there has to be a lot of consultation and stakeholder engagement and coming up with the right solutions. So other challenges, well, I mean, you know, there are lots of things we want to do, but a challenge is always budgets. So, you know, you've got to be able to see how you can do things cost effectively. And also a big thing is maintenance. You know, people often think, oh, we're going to build this lovely new building or this new road or this new reservoir, but they don't always think about the maintenance that needs to happen. And then they don't set aside budgets. So, you know, often people they love the ceremonies to say, right, we're handing over this new reservoir or this new pipeline, but then they haven't allowed budget to maintain it, because everything you build needs maintenance. And so that's a key area that people forget about. It's not so exciting. It's much more exciting to open up a new school building, but you've got to maintain that building and maintain those toilet blocks, for example, at the school. It's not very sexy, but it's got to be done. And maintenance, you've got to allow for those budgets. So I guess that's kind of few examples of challenges. The second question was advice on studying. Yeah, I mean, civil engineering, you can study as a diploma at, for example, like at Durban University of Technology or Cape Peninsula University of Technology. You can also study it as a degree. You're going to need maths and science for both of those. So, yeah, I mean, if you get into those courses, it's just hard work. And I think a big bit, I mean, the way I got through civil engineering was working with my peers. So, you know, okay, we didn't have COVID in those days. I was able to sit with other students after hours. When I didn't understand what the lecturer was saying, I was talking with my peers, working things out, working out how to solve problems. And so even then we started with collaborating to solve problems and to understand concepts. So don't try and ever do things on your own. There's always other people that are working through things, and sometimes they know a bit more than you. Yes, you've got to ask questions of your lecturers and your tutors, but the best way to learn is with your peers. That's my little bit of advice. What else can I say? And being a civil engineer or you know, what civil technician is not the be all and end all. There's so many other and I always worry that people are wanting to get the degree because they think that's the be all and end all, and it's not. You know, in our industry, we need so many other people who've got more practical skills, people who can run treatment plants, operators, electricians, plumbing. So I'm not, all I want to say is that civil engineering and or degrees and diplomas, it is for some, but it's not for everyone. And people with practical skills should not necessarily be trying to get through that when they don't have the skill set to get there. So hopefully those are just some of the bits of advice I can give you.
Thank you so much, Nick. Brad, this is for you. Let's say you're a student starting now with no knowledge or budget yet. How can I gather resources to start a small community project? Who do I talk to, etc.? Maybe some more resources that you could share on that.
Okay, resources. That's a trick question, and I don't have all the answers to that one, you know, as far as getting money together is concerned. But it doesn't take much other than a bit of application and energy to get started with small little projects that ultimately cumulatively end up building momentum in and of themselves. So, like an example, there's a company, or it's actually an NGO called Riverwise, which is basically they go into communities and they gather the people that are unemployed together, and together they start rehabilitating and addressing issues within the rivers of those areas. And what's started out as like a litter gathering exercise grew. So suddenly they started recycling and sorting through the litter. Suddenly then businesses started being generated out of that process. Suddenly then, you know, it snowballed and ultimately some of the community members were able to get educated through university as a result of the funds that get generated from just a small little idea, like we were saying. So yeah, I don't certainly people like myself, I'm more than happy from a technical perspective to have input into things that maybe you might be interested in with regards to water resources, and just be there as a supporting resource or a mentor, or whatever you want to call it. Just to have a soundboard to bounce ideas off, because as I said earlier, there's no bad ideas. There's just the good ideas haven't been sifted through yet, and you got, as I said, you just got to start somewhere, and that's the key thing. And you know, when you put an effort and passion into something, resources somehow get attracted to you. That's been my experience as well. So if you going gung-ho, you know, with all your energy into some little project of yours, somebody's going to notice somewhere, and one thing leads to another, and you might end up getting some international funding or whatever to sort your project out. And another thing, just, there's a saying you probably heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Always be friendly and always make friends with everybody that you see. And who knows? I've met a couple of people this morning. Like, I've known of Nick's name. I've heard his name being said in the professional circles before, but now I've got a face to add to that name, and I'm interested in what he's doing. So chances are we're going to have a conversation later in the game. And that's the same for all of you guys. Is just do that. Just be friendly. Have a smile on your face. Ask the right questions. And don't be afraid of sounding like an idiot, because, you know, nobody gains knowledge by keeping quiet. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I always seem to be rambling on a bit.
No, not at all. I think that was a very good answer. And I think the kids will actually definitely appreciate that, because, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, encouragement there. But now that you were speaking about bouncing off some ideas, Nick, there's actually somebody that would like to bounce off an idea from you. One of the students, Kamogelo, says, will it be bad if maybe, for example, you use toilets from a nearby community to use it in a plantation, even though it is a bit far away?
Okay, so you're saying, is he asking, can he use the waste from those toilets to fertilize that plantation? Is that what he's asking, do you think?
I think so. So what he put out here, yeah.
I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, obviously, something one has to be very careful about is that fecal matter waste has pathogens, so it can be dangerous to humans. I mean, it's the same with COVID. You can get disease, and so one has to be really careful about it. But there are projects that are already doing that kind of thing. There's a project that's been tested in Maritzburg over the last few years called deep row entrenchment. And basically what that involves is taking waste from pit toilets and burying it in where you're going to grow a plantation. So, but burying it at a certain depth, and those trees feed on the nutrients of that waste below. And there's, you know, obviously, you know, if you're putting that waste on the surface, it's dangerous because someone might come and touch that. But if you're burying it, so that, you know, I think it's about 800 mils or half a meter below ground level, the trees grow into it and they use up those nutrients. So it's a great idea, and it's something that they're testing, and it's something that they want to introduce. I guess the big issue with a lot of these things is the cost of transport. You know, you need to collect that waste, you need to move it, and for it to be viable as a business opportunity, you've got to keep the costs down, and your big costs are always transport and health and safety issues as well.
Thank you so much, Nick. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for our speakers and all your questions, but Kamogelo, so, you know, here you go. You've got the information you needed. Now your brain needs to start working and trying to get all those good ideas flowing. Remember what Brad said, there's no bad ideas, only good ones that just need to be sipped through. So thank you so much to Brad and Nick. We really appreciate this. There was a lot that has been taken away from this. I know from my side, definitely, and I'm pretty sure from the learners as well. So thank you so much again for joining us. But it's not over just yet. So let me introduce Mawande to you. Mawande is based in East London and works for WESA as a project manager within the schools unit. He studied environmental management at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology and also has a project management certificate, which he had obtained at the Nelson Mandela University. He's passionate about conservation and sustainable development and has a huge interest in the field of renewable energy. Well, Mawande, I'm sure you will share with us your passions and what it is that you actually do at WESA that makes a difference. So I'm going to stop sharing and over to you, Mawande.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. And thank you for this opportunity to be part of this group, just to share what I do, and hopefully it will impact someone's future for the greater good and for our continent and the whole world as well. So as mentioned, I work for an NGO that is over 95 years old now. It looks at conservation, ecotourism, as well as schools and youth. That is the unit I come from. We've got various projects or programs that deal with environmental education within schools. One of our flagship programs is called the Eco Schools program. You can Google that, and it's currently facilitated in 64 countries in the world, and WESA is the sole implementer of that program. So we support schools to develop their change action projects, such as organic food gardens. You also have biogas systems in some of our schools. We also encourage schools to do waste management system as well as water management systems in their schools. So we support schools in developing hands-on projects that they can even use as a learning tool to also contribute on their practical learning, and all these programs are kept aligned. So today I was given a task to speak about sustainable land management, including agriculture. Now, sustainable land management is quite a broad topic, but I will just speak on the most important parts of it, which I find it to be very useful for this platform today. Sustainable land management, simply, I've taken this definition from the United Nations. It says the use of land resources, including soils, water, animals, plants, for the production of goods to meet the changing human needs, while simultaneously ensuring the long-term productive potential of these resources and maintenance of their environmental function. So what this means basically, it says we are able to use the resources that are being offered to us naturally, which comprise of soils, water, but we need to use them in an efficient way so that these same resources can be used by the future generations. So we need not to deplete these resources so that our future, our children, our great-grandchildren may also have the benefit of using the same resources that we use. And when we also dissect what is agriculture, agriculture is the science and practice of farming. Now there's different kinds of farming: poultry, crop farming, livestock farming. So that is agriculture. So agriculture simply is a practice that is used within land. So if we sustain our lands, that means we've got more opportunity to practice farming and other agricultural aspects. So as I've just mentioned that land resources comprise of soil, water, human settlements, plants, and animals. Now the sustainability part, which is the most critical part, and some people in other developmental sectors of a country would always think that people from the environment sector, from the conservation sector, are always blocking development, which is not the case. What we really do within the conservation sector is we need to find sustainability of as the impact of humans should not be greater than the benefit of or the existence of the natural resources that I have mentioned. So we always try to find a balance between development and sustaining our natural resources that we have. So sustainable land management combines technologies, policies, and activities aimed at integrating socio-economic principles with environmental concerns, as I've just mentioned, so as to do so simultaneously, so that we've got our development going on, we've got our infrastructures going on, but we still maintain the natural ecosystems that we have, because we do need plants for us to breathe, and we can't breathe using the buildings that we have, but we still need buildings for us to live, for us to generate electricity and so forth. So we need both the development as well as the conservation of our natural resources. So sustainability helps to maintain and enhance production. If we've got enough water and if we've got enough land, that means more production in terms of farming. So which in this case, they work hand in hand, sustainability and or sustainable land management as well as agriculture, they work hand in hand. Because without land, without sustainable land, we've got no agriculture, or we've got no opportunity for agriculture to, as a practice. Reduce level of production risk, enhance soil capacity to buffer against degradation processes. So again, sustainable land management helps us to have land for the future for us. And once we've got enough soil, that means we're producing good food that we can eat. We're not, to protect the potential of natural resources and prevent the degradation of soil and water quality. Again, we need to have healthy soils for us to have healthy production and for us to have healthy lives. So this is a cycle where what we do on the soil or what we do on the land impacts the end result of what are we getting out of the soil in terms of our agriculture. Again, if we've got sustainable land, it means we are economically viable, we are able to produce more, to sell to other countries as well as part of our exports, and be socially acceptable. As the human beings, we want to live in a place where we've got clean air to breathe, we've got clean water to drink. So we need these places to be socially viable for the use of us as humans as well as animals and the plants as well that we live in. So it needs to be an enclosed ecosystem that where everyone benefits, from plants to human beings. So the importance of sustainable land management and agriculture in our country, it ensures the achievement of sustainable livelihoods and income generations. Once we've got this balance, that means we've got a greater deal of having healthy lives when we've got healthy production that comes out of our healthy soils and healthy water as well. Land resources are a source of food. We get food by farming, which is agriculture, and farming happens when there's land. If there's not land, then there's no farming, and if there's no farming, then that means there's no food. It also provides shelter. There's a lot of species, including human beings. For us to build houses, we need land. And that is the land that we need to take care of. Our economic development, when we have infrastructure, the developments that are going on, we need land for those. Everything happens on land. We don't have much economic development that is happening in the air. So we need the land as a basic resource or a basic tool for us to have all our economic needs as well. Creating employment opportunity for local people. Agriculture is one of the sectors in the country that creates a lot of job opportunities for the locals as well as people from the international space as well. So we need, again, to sustain our land for us to grow the sector of agriculture where we can employ more people. And we know that during the latest statistics, our unemployment rate has risen in the country. And we need to use agriculture as one of the key sectors that we can employ more people. The protection of the environment and the expansion of natural resources. The key thing about sustainable land management is that we need to protect what we have. We need to protect the land that we have so that we are able to get the most out of it. And the sustainment of economic viability agricultural system. As much as things are going digital, but we still have to eat. So food is a basic need that is going to be there for quite a while, as much as all the other sectors and fields are going digital, but we still need to do the physical farming for us to sustain the basic necessities of life. So in terms of the field of sustainable land management, or maybe I can throw in a term called sustainable development or environmental management, there are quite a number of careers that one can venture into, and I will just touch on the basic ones, and then later on I will just jump on what the advancement or where you can advance as part of your interest within this broader field. We've got control biodiversity officers. Those people can work in the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, which is the national department now responsible for environmental management and other sustainable development. Our SDGs are actually a great contributor to the policies that this department is making for the country. And for you to be a CBO, which is a Controlled Biodiversity Officer, you need a degree as an entry level in environmental science or environmental management. Also can be a conservation officer, can also work in the same department or other provincial departments, as well as NGOs and other companies that deal with conservation and environmental education work. Qualification, nature conservation, as well as environmental management or sciences. This can be obtained in the universities of technology, such as DUT, CBUT, as well as universities. In universities like University of Rhodes University, University of Fort Hare, you can get degrees on environmental management or sciences. Then we also got a career as a horticulturalist. You can also work in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, and any other NGOs or companies that work within the space of agriculture. You can get a qualification under horticultural sciences. And then environmental officer, which is the position that I have now. You can also work for the Department of Water and Sanitation, Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, and any other companies or organizations that work within the water and sanitation space. You can study towards environmental sciences, environmental management, and any other related careers or courses such as nature conservation. And then when you are in the field as a postgraduate, you can choose to specialize or continue in a specific field, because remember, environmental management or environmental sciences can be a broad career field, but if you want to specialize in a certain career, then there's agroforesters, aquarists, biofuel production operators, aquatic biologists, ecotourism guide, landscape architect. Those are just careers that you can actually specialize in once you've done the entry level in environmental management or environmental sciences. And then in terms of education criteria, mathematics and sciences, again, it's a great requirement for you to get into the career of environmental management or sciences. In terms of how I got to where I am, I grew up close to a nature reserve in my hometown, and that has always exposed me to nature and protection thereof. I think the love and passion started there, to seeing how a protected area functions and how the ecosystems are untouched and they are preserved. You can actually see rivers still maintained for quite a while. Unlike the other areas where development has taken place, it's quite a contrast, and you can easily see the cleanliness of a natural area. And then in terms of a legacy, I think legacy in our field can also be defined as sustainable development, which I subscribe to, which sustainable development can be defined as a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. And that is basically legacy. So whatever we have today, we need to use it efficiently so that our future generation can also be able to use the same resources. And what we're doing here, the session that we're having here today, hopefully will also leave a legacy in the future of the learners that we have in this space, so that they can also pass that baton to the upcoming generation as well. Passion is fundamental within the field, as this field is not as popular as other fields that have been touched on or other popular fields. The passion is a good drive for us to conserve our natural resources, because without passion, it's difficult to actually succeed in this field that I'm working in. And also working in collaboration, we do not work in silos. Otherwise, we would not be able to achieve our goal of conserving our natural resources. So we need to use the synergies of working with other companies, other contributors, as well as other NGOs and volunteers, for us to actually be the agents of change that we want to see in our world. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mawande. That was very interesting. And I'm sure that you guys all realize that, yes, everything is going digital, but unfortunately, we still do need to eat. So I think that was a very valid point, knowing that even though things are digital, we still do need to eat. And so having to worry about how we're going to get food is still very, very important. So what we're going to do is, Mawande, please don't go anywhere. Please don't go anywhere just yet, because we have one more speaker, and then we'll have the Q&A with you and the other speaker. But thank you so much, Mawande, for that. That was very interesting. So lastly, we have Reese Slade. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly, just so you can look at Reese's cool photo that he has here that he's shared with us. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Reese. He's a 17-year-old children's rights activist from Cape Town. He is the founder and director of a nonprofit organization called Earth Kids Org that works to solve the challenges faced in regards to pollution and early childhood development, and was the runner-up to the Turner Social Change Prize at the World Summit for Nobel Peace Laureates in Mexico 2019. He works with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child to protect children's rights worldwide through projects such as the COVID Under-19 initiative, and as a mentor for Child's Rights Connect. He's passionate about solving and motivating others to solve issues that youth face, especially in South Africa. All that at just the age of 17. Wow, Reese, that is really, really amazing. But really, we want to hear more about your great achievements and you know, what it is that you are doing out there. So I'm going to stop sharing, and the stage is yours.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So yes, my name's Reese Slade. I'm 17. I live in Cape Town, and I consider myself a children's rights activist. And I have an organization called Earth Kids Org. We focus on environmental issues as well as youth empowerment. So actually what we do is we go into under-resourced areas in my city, and we start recycling programs. But then with the plastics and all unrecyclable objects that we collect, we create them into early childhood development games or preschool tools to be donated to preschools so that they can be used to help a child's education and get them ready for school. So I'm a very big advocate in the idea that youth have unlimited power, and that everyone can use anything to make a good difference in their world, especially when it comes to sustainability and the environment. You don't need to be a completely professional scientist or have huge degrees. You could literally be like me, a 17-year-old who's the son of a preschool teacher and has access to recycling and trash that can be used to make educational games. So I'm a really big advocate in that. And I think it's something that we really should be promoting, and we should recognize in our communities as well. When it comes to sustainable land management, often we feel that as young people, we look up to older people and to inherit ways and learn how to manage the environment and manage agriculture and all of these different industries. But I'm sure we can all recognize that it hasn't been done exactly the right way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the climate disaster we are now. So I think it's amazing that we can use this time to recognize not only the responsibility we have to change the narrative in the future for a more sustainable future, but also the influence we have now. We need to realize that we aren't only inheriting, but we are creating a story in which our communities manage land and act sustainably. And I think one of the biggest examples of this is one time when I went out with my project, Earth Kids Org. We went to a school in Guguletu, and we went to this school, and they hadn't heard of recycling before. It was never a really big issue because there wasn't even proper garbage collection in the area. So how could we sort of expect people to adopt these new concepts when we aren't moving at the same pace as a country? But we brought the Earth Kids Org bin, and we said to these kids, look, you can collect these recyclable objects and we can make them into toys. And we had a list of all the different things we were collecting: milk bottles, all different plastics, papers. And then I came back the next week, and the teacher told me, the teacher at that school said that there was a little girl who was about 4 years old who went home that day and saw her mother throw a milk bottle into the bin. And she said, hi mama habo, that must go to school. And she put the milk bottle in her school bag and took it to school the next day to recycle. And then since then, that young child and her family has been recycling since then. So I think it's so important that we see the opportunity and the power that we have to move forward. And I mean, even the simplest things, we see projects started by companies that previously, I mean, we had the idea are doing bad for our environment, but places like Checkers, which are starting these seed programs where they give you, I don't know if you've seen them, but if you spend a certain amount of money, they give you the seeds. And then often children take those seeds home and then they plant them and they become little farmers in their own families. And I, in fact, still have a tomato plant growing outside from that, which I think is amazing. And with that, going forward, I mean, it's always really difficult to think about the world we're inheriting from older people because it's so many things going wrong. But I believe that as youth, we can recognize that there is more economic opportunity to have these ecosystems and these land management more sustainable than having them destroyed. We can recognize that using the resources in a way that isn't only beneficial to the earth, but is beneficial to us is possible. And that is the only way to move forward. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. And I think we have to reframe the narrative around climate change and sustainable land and moving forward sustainably. Because if we look at the news today, often the people who are speaking out the loudest about the climate are young people. So we really have to claim that narrative and step up. And you know what, it's our time, so let's keep going. So that's just a little bit about my project. It's not a big project, but we have had a huge impact, which has been really heartwarming. And it's not only me leading it, but it's people like that 4-year-old girl that keep it going. And I've been having the most enthusiastic response to adopting these new ways of living from young people. So I think we can really use that narrative and that position to move forward. So thank you so much. I hope my short story could have inspired you to recognize any position you have in your community and use whatever you have to make a sustainable difference, whether that be just collecting trash around you to make educational tools and to help people with their future, and perhaps even inspire new climate activists or new sustainable change makers. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Should I answer this question over here?
So
What education?
we're gonna have a session now for Q&A.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Not a problem.
Perfect.
So don't leave, please. I'd like you to stay on, and Mawande as well. So thank you both. It's really amazing work that you're doing, and you know, you really have achieved so much and are definitely making a difference in people's lives out there. And it's very inspiring and educational to hear this here, you know, from yourself and from Mawande, about what it is that you're actually doing in the sustainable land management, including agriculture as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have you both here and then have the questions asked. So we've got the first question here, which is for Mawande. So Mawande, I've got the first question here from you. As there are different grades of sand and soil, what would be the best soil type for achieving healthy soil for better quality farming, agriculture, and describe what it looks like or feels like?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure, not a problem. So as there are many different grades of sand and soil, what would be the best soil type for achieving healthy soil for better quality farming and agriculture, and then describe what it looks or feels like?
Sandy is, unless you are very good in agriculture, sandy soil is not really ideal for farming. We used to use loamy soil is good for farming. It's moist, not dry, but when you feel it in your hand, you are not, it does not compact so that water can sift through the soil and it goes through to the roots of each plants that you are planting. Well, recently there have been technologies where people are using sand to plant on, and even there's also farming without soil as well. So there's innovation around agriculture recently that you can even plant without soil. So even with sandy soil, as long as you've got nutrients that you can feed your plants on. But the best soil to plant on is loamy soil. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mawande. Reese, this one is for you. How do you get involved with the UNCRC?
Sure. So this actually came as a sort of coincidence thing. Through my project, I've been exposed to a lot of other online organizations that are doing things for children's rights. And just through networking and looking and searching for different opportunities, I came across something where I could apply to become a children's advisor for the UNCRC. Yeah, so it wasn't a difficult process at all. And there's always ways to get involved, not only with the UNCRC, but with the United Nations. It's, I mean, an organization that represents the world. So the world has the right to get involved as well, no matter your age. And so I encourage everyone to just keep their eyes open for these opportunities and go searching, because these will come up. And I'm sure if you've got the passion, you'll find your way in.
Thank you so much, Reese, for that. Mawande, what educational tools do you create? I think I'm not 100% sure who that's for. It could be for you or for Reese. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it must be for me.
Okay, I think that's for you, Reese. Yes, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So I keep forgetting to bring examples or to make examples for webinars, but some examples of what we make is some simple ones is we use tins to make stilts that are great for gross motor skills. And then we have We use bread bags and single-use plastics to make skipping ropes, also for gross motor skills. And we use a combination of yoga tubs and strings and bottle tops to make different games where you match colors together, or you thread different objects through the bottle tops, or post them through a hole in the yoga tub lid, all for fine motor skills and color recognition. Really, all the things you should be learning in preschool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mwande, why do you do the work that you do?
It's passion. I've got passion for conservation, and I've got passion for saving the environment. So I'm just acting as an agent of change, trying to share what I know with other people as well.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
It really is a big thing. Passion is honestly, I think, one of the biggest things that drives anybody to do what it is that they actually do. Reese, would you like to answer that question as well? Why do you do the work that you do?
Sure. Also, I would say passion. It's really something I'm passionate about. And I think there's so many, everyone has different passions and everyone has more than one passion. And I think in a topic like this, when it comes to the environment, there's so many ways to use your different passions to your advantage in finding different ways in tackling the environmental crises we're facing. So with me, I would say something I'm passionate about is the environment. I'm also passionate about helping uplift other children. I'm passionate about my country. I'm passionate about meeting new people. And I found a way to sort of all these things to the benefit of the environment by using one project through all my different passions.
Thank you so much. Reese, we've got one last question for you. At what age did you decide you wanted to make a difference?
I think for me, I was raised with the idea that I should be doing something positive for my community. And I think being raised in a place like South Africa, where it's so diverse, and there's so many things to be addressed, that it kind of forces one to go into that path. I wouldn't say there's a specific age. I think it was a combination of different things leading to another. And then I got to a stage where I realized this is what I want to do, and this is what I need to do, and this is what I'm able to do. So I think whenever you have the ability to recognize that is when you can start your mission. It never depends on age.
Thank you so much. Okay, so sorry, we have one last question. So this will be the last question before we go into our breakaway rooms. What are some challenges you face coming into this space as a young leader, and how do you make people listen?
So I think something difficult is definitely the attitude from adults. Often just because you're younger, people think you aren't as legit in your work. People don't think you're professional or can make a difference. I actually have an example where a past principal has said to me that me running my project was like a swimming coach running a swimming school, but they don't know how to swim. Little did my principal know that on my team, we have registered occupational therapists, we have all these different youth activists supporting us, we have UN recognitions. So through your good work, you're able to go past the bad comments. And I think at the end of the day, if your passion is there, nothing can push your passion down, even if it's an older person telling you that you aren't qualified. Because at the end of the day, it's also your world that you're going to be living in. That older person isn't going to be controlling everything forever. So
thank you so much. That is very true. Okay, this is the last question, guys, because we do need to move on to our breakaway sessions. And I know that everybody is excited and you can't stop listening to our speakers. Mwande, this one is for you. What can you say sorry, let me just read that again. What can you say is being done to make the youth aware and educated about farming and its importance to society and the community? And what supports are the youth interested in farming getting for that?
Well, unfortunately, there isn't much focus that is being on the youth in terms of farming. But we as WESA are doing our project in school. So our project focus mainly on organic crop farming as well, that we teach the learners from primary schools to high school as well. So we are doing it on the ground as the WESA team, and what support are the youth interested in? Well, there's quite a lot of funding that I've had for the youth in terms of agriculture and farming that is being issued, especially here in the Eastern Cape as well. There's a recent circular about funding that is made available for people who want to venture into farming or agriculture. So there is some action that is, but it has not taken off quite well, but there is action on the ground for the youth especially. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Mawande. Well, you see, as youth, you found the gap there that there is some work being done to educate, but not a lot in all the parts of South Africa. So maybe you as youth can actually go and find out and actually share that with the rest of your community. Just some more hackathon ideas, that you guys can start thinking about and bringing, as ideas to submit. But thank you so much, Mawande and Reese, for joining us. I mean, feel free to stay and hop into our breakaway sessions that we are going to be having next. So all these sessions and speakers have left you really thinking creatively, and that it's opened up a whole new world in realizing that there's so many more career options out there than your usual, teachers, doctors, accountant careers, that there's so much more out there that you can actually do. And a lot of these career options allow you to actually make a difference, in your communities within South Africa and even sometime in the world, and it can change the lives, of people in your community and everybody else out there. So I'm going to play you our video again, once more. Please remember that I'm going to pop in the link to the website of where you can find all the information as well regarding our competition that we are having. And I'm just going to play the video again just so that you guys could actually just, have an idea of what it is that's required from you and what you need to do in order to submit to enter into our competition. So just give me a second. I'm just going to share that video with you now.
Are you ready for an opportunity? Do you want to change your community for the better? We challenge you to enter and be one of the top 10 teams to take part in our hackathon. You can make a difference and win. What is a hackathon? Well, it is an event where people come together to solve problems using technology. How to enter, you ask? Let me show you. Firstly, let's look at our hackathon question. What does it mean to leave behind a legacy for a sustainable future using technology in your community? We have amazing, innovative green stories out there that have been making a difference. For example, William Kamkwamba was a 14-year-old Malawian inventor who built an electricity-producing windmill from spare parts. What about the drones that have been used to deliver medical supplies to rural areas? Or one of our speakers from Megalo, who is turning recyclable material into amazing eco-fashion. Where there's a need, there's a way, and you as young South Africans can be the next inventors of something great. All you have to do is form a team of 4 or 5 friends. Create and submit a 1.5 to 2 minute video or a Word document essay of 250 to 300 words explaining how your team will leave behind a legacy for a sustainable future using technology in your community. You need to include the following in your submissions. Step 1, define.
Find the problem or need in your community, focusing on either green energy resources, sustainable water management, waste management, or sustainable land management. Step 2, identify. Identify which of the UNESCO sustainable goals or goal your team will be addressing in order to find this solution. And lastly, explain. Explain your solution and how will you incorporate technology into it? How will it meet the needs of your community? Remember, only the 10 best solutions will make it to the hackathon. For more information on how to enter and submit, go to www.ischoolafrica.com/green careers. Good luck!
Well, that is the end. That is the end of our session and the Green Career Day. I just want to thank everybody for joining us for this really wonderful event. Thank you to our speakers, to our facilitators, our interpreters, and to you, the youth, the next game changers of South Africa. A huge thank you to the supporters of this event, namely Nedbank Foundation, our incredible Tomorrow Leaders in Training team, and our very own iSchool Africa team for making this event possible. Please stay safe and look after yourselves. Till we meet again, goodbye, everyone. Please don't forget to go to the link. It's in the chat or it's on the video, or just go to the website. You'll find all the information there about how to get into our hackathon. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.